As an introduction to chapter 9 in our textbook, Daniel Wallace, who is a professor of Greek at Dallas Theological Seminary, made a really interesting exegetical insight in regard to adjectives which is used substantively. And he wrote, take the adjective poneru, which means evil, in Matthew 6:13, for example. The King James Version, as well as more than one modern version, translates this as, but deliver us from evil. But the adjective has an article modifying it, the article to, indicating that it is to be taken substantively, the evil one. And he goes on to say, and there's no little theological difference between the two. The Father does not always keep his children out of danger, disasters, or the ugliness of the world. In short, he does not always deliver us from evil. But he does deliver us from the evil one. The text is not teaching that God will make our life a rose garden, but that he will protect us from the evil one, the devil himself. And then he gives a couple verses as cross-references to help us understand this is a viable translation, not only grammatically but contextually as well. So this is an important observation to make as we go into our study of adjectives. Shows us the importance of being able to translate them correctly. So if we have a sentence like, this is a day, well, that's pretty plain and probably pretty obvious. Well, this is a day. Do you want to say anything else about it? Well, we could say this is a beautiful day because it is cool and sunny. Well, now we've added three adjectives that illustrate how adjectives can be used in Greek as well. Beautiful day, the word beautiful is an attributive adjective, and generally in English an attributive adjective comes right before the noun it's modifying. A beautiful day. Beautiful tells us something about the day, that it's really nice. And when we say because it is cool and sunny, those are also adjectives. It's a cool day and a sunny day. But their position in the sentence is a little different. They're separated from their noun, their modifying day, but they're separated by a being verb, is. The day is cool and sunny. And these would be examples of predicate adjectives. And so those are the two main ones we're going to study, along with the substantive use of the adjectives. We're going to have the attributives, which in English generally come right before the noun, like beautiful, as in beautiful day, and predicate adjectives, which generally are separated from the word they're modifying. With the being verb, generally it will be is. So beautiful is attributive. English adjectives are rather monotone, we could say. They don't necessarily match grammatically with the word they are modifying. For instance, we could say it's a beautiful day, or we could say they were beautiful days. And the word beautiful doesn't really change. It's not really declined. It stays the same, and most adjectives in English are like that. Other languages, the adjectives will change more depending on how the word they're modifying appears. So English is a little monotone, so we're going to have to stretch our conception of grammar a little bit as we study these Greek adjectives. As we do, let's keep in mind all of the noun endings that we've been learning. The article takes the noun endings, and nouns take the noun endings, these 24 noun endings which tell us the case number and gender. And adjectives are also going to take the noun endings, and what's interesting is these adjectives will always agree with the word they're modifying in case number and gender. So here we've listed it out. In Greek, the adjective has to agree with the word it is modifying in case number and gender, and this will help us as we're translating to know which word goes with what. So this is a beautiful day because it is cool and sunny. Cool and sunny would be predicate adjectives. Predicate adjectives affirm something about the word that they are modifying, and their function is similar to an attributive, but we might change the definition a little bit to say they affirm something because they occur with a being verb. The day is cool and the day is sunny. Now that's pretty close to saying it's a cool sunny day, but there's just a slight difference because there's generally a being verb that occurs in the context. Generally in English, the being verb will be is. So let's talk a little bit more about the attributive adjective. In Greek, if an adjective is functioning attributively, it will have the article. The article will appear right in front of the adjective. Here's an example sentence. Pistos is the word for faithful. And in the context here, it says, who then is ha pistos, the faithful servant. Pistos is an adjective, but it has the article. Well, what word is faithful or pistos modifying? It's modifying doulos, which is translated servant. It's the adjective that has the article and not the substantive or the noun that it's modifying. Doulos just appears as doulos without the article. When this happens, the adjective is translated as an attributive, and in English in the translation generally it comes right before the noun that it's modifying. Who then is the faithful servant? Now this Greek sentence has the word estin, but that doesn't mean that the adjective is predicate. Generally, the being verb will separate the adjective from the noun it's modifying, both in Greek as well as in English. Or here's another Greek sentence, ha agathos, agathos means good, and anthropos is man. Ha agathos anthropos, ek tu agathu thesaru, ek bale agatha. So agathos appears quite a few times in the sentence, and it would be translated the good man, and we translated that as an attributive again, because if you look at agathos, all right, that has the article, whereas the noun anthropos, translated man, doesn't. So the good man, out of the good treasure, thesauru is the word that means treasure, and again agathu here has the article, so it's attributive. The good treasure brings forth good things. Another thing that we can note, which we've already noted earlier, is the fact that the adjective has to agree with the noun it's modifying in case, number, and gender. If we go to the first example, we've got ha pistos doulos. Both of those are nominative masculine singular, and we know that because of the case ending sigma. Pistos doulos. We're not going to have pistos doulou or pistos douloi or something like that. They're always going to agree in case, number, and gender. The same thing happens down below in the second example. Ha agathos anthropos. Both of those are masculine and nominative and singular. And then to agathu, that would be genitive, masculine, singular. And that's modifying thesauru, which would be parsed the same way. So the adjectives are always going to agree with the word they're modifying in case, number, and gender. That level of declension is kind of strange for English speakers because our nouns are not that heavily declined. But Greek words are. So it again shows us the importance of memorizing those 24 case endings, because nouns have them, adjectives have them, the article has them. The predicate. If the substantive, or the noun that's being modified by the adjective, has the article, but the adjective does not, so really we're just reversing it now, it's probably a predicate, and oftentimes in the context there will be a form of ami that appears, and ami is the verb that means I am, so it's a being verb. Take this example from the teachings of Jesus. He said, "Blessed are the peacemakers. Makarioi hoi eronopoioi." Okay, and so in italics is the adjective, and the words that are in bold would be the substantive. In this case, the substantive is the word eronopoioi, which is translated peacemakers. That comes from erene, which means peace, and the verb poieo, which means I make. As a noun, it means a peacemaker, but it's plural. Hoi eronopioi, the peacemakers. And makarioi means blessed or happy. But in this case, it's the substantive, or it's the noun, that has the article, whereas the adjective does not. And when we have a construction like this, generally, if the being verb does not occur in the context, we have to provide it. The idea is, blessed are the peacemakers. Again, how do we know that? Because the substantive has the article and the adjective does not. So it's predicate positioned. And here's another example. In this are manifest the children of God. So in other words, the children of God are manifest. Ta tekna is translated the children, and it has the article. And phanera is an adjective which means manifest, and it doesn't have the article. So the substantive has the article, the adjective does not, and so this would be a predicate construction. In this are manifest the children of God. And in the context in Greek, there's a form of ami that occurs, estin, and so that's an extra indication to us that, okay, this is a predicate construction, and the adjective is affirming a quality about the substantive. In this are manifest the children of God. But sometimes we have to ask ourselves, well, how should we translate it if neither the adjective nor the substantive has an article? For instance, the attributive is when the adjective has the article and the noun or the substantive doesn't. And that could occur as ha agathos anthropos or ha anthropos ha agathos. The important question is if the adjective has the article or not. And if it does, it's attributive and it's translated the good man. If it's predicate, it could occur as ha anthropos agathos or agathos ha anthropos. But the important thing is, if the substantive has the article and the adjective does not, then it would be translated the man is good. And if a form of is not already in the context, we have to provide it in our translation. But then there are those times when neither one of them has an article. For instance, agathos anthropos. How do we translate that? Well, we have to let the context be the guide. It could be the good man, or it could be the man is good. And it's kind of a toss-up. So you have to look at the context to determine what makes the best sense. The adjectives can also be translated substantively. They can stand alone. That's when an adjective does not have a word in the context that it's modifying. And we already saw this in the introduction to the chapter. The evil one, tu poneru in Matthew 6:13. Poneru is an adjective, but it appears all by itself with the article, and so it's a substantive adjective, the evil one. Sometimes we will have to provide what is understood by the context. The evil one, well, we understand from the context that's referring to Satan. And there will be other times a substantive adjective will occur. We have to search the context to know what it's talking about. For instance, deliver us from the evil one. Or this one, an example we've already seen. The good man from the good treasure brings forth good things. Or we could also say good treasures. We've already talked about the translation of ha agathos anthropos and agathu thesaurou. But this last adjective appears all by itself. Ekbale brings forth agatha. Just one adjective which means good, but it's all by itself and it's neuter plural. So, well, what does he mean? Well, if we look at the context, he's talking about good treasures, or as many versions opt for, good things. That's a good translation. And this would be an example of an adjective standing all by itself. It's functioning like a substantive, and a lot of times we'll have to include the word, whether it's singular or plural, that's understood by the context.